Homelessness, the plight of the unhoused has been a problem throughout the US. California, more than most areas, in fact. And people of all different circumstances have been affected by this, not just those that the media stereotypes that you might see in shows and TV, the movies and things like that. It affects other people as well, including students. And so, not far from where we're filming this, in Long Beach at their city college, they've announced what is called a safe parking program that might intersect with this crisis. Long Beach city officials have announced that they're going to do this pilot program for enrolled students to reside in their vehicles overnight in a secure campus location. The pilot program is the only known program of its kind in the region at a community college. It's meant to help unhoused students, which has at least 70 students sleeping in their cars each night. That is a big population for a community college that are going to be doing this. And so anyway, they'll be able to stay at the Pacific Coast campus parking structure between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. 7 nights a week. They'll also have access to restrooms and Wi-Fi throughout the night and be able to use showers at the Pacific Coast campus in the mornings. Participating students would also get help from college staff to find more long-term stable housing. And I mean, we're in a terrible situation. It seems very weird that a college would have to do this, but that said, seems like it's probably going to help those people.
Yeah, I overall, like I'm always a cynic about everything, but I actually really do like this program. There's a lot of colleges that have a lot of unhoused students, unfortunately, and shout out Long Beach to doing something that's kind of really progressive in this sense. Unfortunately, like Long Beach City College nor the city of Long Beach can on its own like solve like the homeless crisis within Long Beach's borders, but at least something they can do on their level is like use their property to provide safe housing for students. Because something that Los Angeles County has done more broadly is made it so it's illegal to park your cars overnight in major parts of the county, which means that if you are unhoused and living in your car, you don't have any sort of method around getting around that. Like it's illegal to essentially exist. So what are you going to do? Sleep outside? Oh no, there's been an ordinance just passed where it's illegal to sleep in most areas of the city. Increasingly areas are being gentrified. There's increased police presence where it's harder to be unhoused. And so like basically the system is failing people who are homeless and not providing a lot of support. So it's up to little pieces of the system here and there to do what they can. But even then, this seems to be like a temporary measure. It's gonna be like a pilot program that's gonna go through basically through the end of the summer, and then we'll kind of just see what happens. There need to be longer term solutions in place, and I'm asking for like more support from the city of Long Beach, like around Long Beach City College, to what they can do. It seems like what they're trying to do, which is transition folks to getting more permanent housing.
Yeah, it's a great idea. I think the city should do that, the state should do that, and our government nationally should do that. It is obviously, it's great that they're doing this, and it will very much help. Like it is already difficult enough to get through college. Like these kids are trying to do the right thing. They're trying to go to college. They're trying to better themselves, and we're making it that much more difficult. And so I'm glad that they're doing that. But it gives me that feeling. I don't know. I wish that I feel like in German there would be an expression for this feeling, but it's like a good thing, but it makes you queasy. So it makes me feel like when you see that someone who like desperately needs help with like pancreatic cancer, a bunch of money is raised on GoFundMe for them. It's like, I'm glad that happened, but none of this should have had to have happened. Community college should not be the ones who are saving kids from having to sleep in cars, being worried about being victimized on the street. It is good, but it is good at the last second. Like we've had this whole path as a society and as a government, and at the last second someone does the right thing. And that's better than no one doing the right thing. But it hardly feels like, oh good, we have a functioning society that believes in and will protect the inherent dignity of all of its citizens.
And that's a lot of what I was trying to say there, is that like what is ultimately happened is that it has fallen upon this city college, which real ones know Pacific Coast campus is like an offshoot of the main Long Beach City College. So it's not even the main campus. It's fallen off to the satellite city college campus to deal with the homelessness crisis for like young adults in the city of Long Beach. So like that means so many other systems have had to fail as a result, and that means a lot of people who have run on things like, oh, the homelessness crisis is an issue. I want to solve it. I want to address it. That means they're failing at their jobs. So it's kind of like I fully agree with you. This is like the closest to a feel-good story you can get in a dystopia, where like this entire system is working against things that would be long-term good and regardless.
Yeah. I want to add on to this. And great points there by Dan. This is a story. I understand it's a few days old at this point, but I thought that you might get a kick out of it. So we have this proposed student dorm for UC Santa Barbara. It's a very expensive dorm. There's going to pack in tons of people. Proposed Munger Hall in the grounds of UC Santa Barbara has come under fire for its unconventional aesthetics, which is a weird word to apply to the whole thing. It's going to house more than 4,000 students. And you might think, well, how the hell does one building house 4,000 students? Well, you might be assuming that they'll be able to see the outside world. No, it is an 11-story mixed-use building, but most of those who live in it are not going to have any actual windows facing outward. They are going to be packed in, and you can see the building there, the rendering, but to get a real idea for it, you need to see the floor plans. Let's move to this next picture. You will see that it is just pod after pod after pod of densely packed together rooms, some of which are on the exterior. I'm sure those will be given to kids of legacy and stuff like that. But for most, they will be on the inside. What does that look like in practice? Well, here is a rendering of what it might look like. It has an artificial window. And people online, including Cassie Ho, have compared it to this Norwegian prison room, which is, well, let's be clear, more roomy and has a window. So that's nice. Others have compared it to the housing for the workers in Squid Game. But let's be clear, that is not an accurate comparison, because in Squid Game, they occasionally got to ride on a boat and they had sinks in their room. So nice try, internet, but it's not clear. Anyway, what do you think about this, Dan?
I'll also note that in the Norwegian prisons, you usually at least get a PlayStation or something. So like,
probably, yeah.
In these, you get like 30 square feet, a non-working microwave, and $30,000 in student loan debt, more if you're out of state. There's something about the University of California and just like completely obtusely ugly building projects. There's one, I don't know, that is continuing to happen at Berkeley or not, but they're going to build student housing, kind of, because there's so much of a need for student housing, but it's actually just going to be basically a luxury hotel for parents visiting students that happens to be right by the campus. So they're spending a lot of money on places for people to live with showers and things like that when they have unhoused students.
Yeah.
But they're doing it because they know they can make money off of basically running a Hilton hotel operation on the side. It's shows how, I mean, especially in the UC, there's just a lot about how priorities are mixed and wrong in a number of these different ways. But in a larger sense to what we were talking about earlier, a number of systems have to fail for stuff like this to happen. College students, just for their mental health, just for their sanity, need just sunlight. They shouldn't be in like completely windowless rooms. It is really not great for your mental health. They should have designed this a lot better. But yeah, there's an Evans Hall, like my namesake hall up in Berkeley, that also looks like this. So I'm super not surprised that the UC would do another one. No, yeah, there's some terrible buildings that the University of California is just pumping out on all their campuses, completely uninspired. That's a different show.
Yes, we do have a poll. Okay, we have a poll. Would you want to live in the windowless dorm at UC Santa Barbara? We have some answers for you available at tyt.com/polls. Yes, of course, you wouldn't mind. Maybe you dream of living on Mars and this is what it would be like. Absolutely not. And for some reason, we've indicated that is the choice that will graduate. They have the hat. Anyway, or yes, if it was cheaper. If it made it less expensive to go to college, which by the way, I'm sure it will not. I don't think you're gonna get a refund for it, but you can go to tyt.com/polls and answer. We will give you the results tomorrow.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.